Hey guys, it's Lauren. Today I am back with episode 3 of Beyond the Effects. Sorry this one took me a little bit longer than the rest. I've just sat down to record this so many times and I just can't find the right words to convey what I'm trying to say, or at least I think the chronology of it is a little bit off. I've realized now I need to help you guys understand kind of who I am as a person and the reality about how I feel about myself and my editing abilities, because I think a lot of people are quick to assume that I might have this confidence about the work I produce just because of the feedback I receive. Obviously I'm so grateful for all the followers on Instagram and YouTube, and constantly receiving attention and praise on my edits it's doing good things for my ego. It really helps me feel proud of the stuff I produce. But at the same time, I mean, I'm my worst critic. Everyone is their own worst critic, but I definitely have the complete opposite feelings about my work than you'd expect sometimes. For example, this might sound crazy to some of you, and I'm not fishing for attention with this one. If I was fishing for attention, I would post this somewhere else, not my podcast. My green edit, I hate it. I rewatched it honestly 2 days after I posted it, and every time I rewatch it just fills me with anger because I hate it and there's so many things wrong with it. But you might be listening to this and think, Lauren, what? And yeah, that's my point exactly. I am super, super hard on myself, so I wanted to be able to kind of properly express that so that my feelings towards Lauren clones and people remaking my style and taking inspiration from me, so that my feelings towards those will make more sense. Because another thing that I think people are quick to assume is that people constantly remaking my edits or taking inspiration from my style is something that annoys me, but my feelings are actually the complete opposite, and I will explain to you why. So please, I encourage you, sit back and relax, grab a snack, or do the opposite. If you're needing to get some homework done or some cleaning or maybe some editing, if you need to get that done, then put this on in the background and I will be here as motivation in the form of talking. All right, let's get into it. So, genuinely, in the most humble and objective way possible, and forgive me for this, but commenting "is this Lauren" on an edit has become a new form of complimenting someone. Instead of saying "this is good," people will just be like, "is this Lauren?" Which I completely get. It's also kind of a joke because I always go undercover, but then people are always quick to clarify oh, I'm commenting this because the edit is really good. It reminds me of something Lauren would make. And I need to remind you guys that this has not always been the case. I've been editing on After Effects and on Instagram since 2017, and this all really started happening, me blowing up, probably by 2020. And even the way it is now in 2023, I think just this past year, after I've released Video Game Lover and a ton of other stuff, well, I won't say a ton, let me not get ahead of myself, but Cake, Her, the Sun, even since then, I think there has been a big shift in how I'm perceived and treated by the editing community, if that makes sense, and all positively, by the way. Of course, there are going to be the occasional, she's overrated, yeah, obviously, but there's going to be those people, but for the most part, people speak about my impact on the editing community in a way that, I can't even wrap my head around. It's I never, even now, I don't think that I have that much impact, but the amount of people who have said it, and not even directly to me, they talk to each other about me, I'll scroll through comment sections and people are just talking about me in a positive light. They'll be she's so this and that, and I'm trying to remake this from her. I'm trying to replicate her graphs, and I'm this is so unreal. It doesn't feel like I've done anything to deserve this, but obviously I'm still immensely grateful for it. But it's that is so absolutely crazy to me, for the fact that for years and years on my edit account, that was not the case. And I haven't always received this crazy, amazing, abundance of just support and approval and praise. Not to say oh, no one used to watch my edits, but I I was that editor who was always watching like the big and popular like edits from other editors, and how many times am I going to say edit? But like you get what I mean. Like I was watching what was on my explore page having hundreds of thousands and millions of views, and to me like that was a standard of editing. What I was producing, that was just my stuff. That was what like I was doing, but it wasn't anything special or noticeable or like truly unique. And you guys know, like, the kind of editors I'm talking about. Like, there was Hannah's vids and there was Boca AEP. Like, those are the people who people remember. They stand out in the editing community. People want to emulate that because it's so incredible. I was never that person up until recently, and the fact that I am seen as that type of person to some people is something that I do not take lightly at all. But I'm explaining all of this to make the point that, like, the way 2017, 2018, Lauren felt looking up to other editors as a standard of what I should aspire to be, like, those feelings, that has not gone away. I still, however many years later, feel the exact same way about myself and the content that I produce. Like, I always feel like I can do better. Like, every single thing I do, I'm never posting that being like, this is some of the absolute best and people are going to look up to this work and be so inspired by it. I post it being like, I'm proud of this momentarily, but in about 20 minutes, I'm going to look back at it and be like, okay, my next edit has to be way better. And this happens every single time without a doubt. Like, does this mean I'm not proud of the stuff I produce? No, I can still look back at it and enjoy it. But like the way I was such a harsh critic about myself back then and the way I was always like, I need to be better and improve, I am still the exact same way now. Like the mental warfare aspect of it, it is so there. Like, with the way I perceive myself in my work, you would think I'm, like, someone who has been going at it for 20 years and has acquired, like, 2.5 followers because I really, like, put myself through it. And me being hard on myself is just, like, a totally other conversation. I kind of do that in, like, every aspect of life. I don't know. But, like, I just want to make the broader point of, like, feeling like you could always be better and feeling like you're just not at where you should be, that feeling doesn't go away regardless of how many followers like you have. A lot of people like might just assume, oh my God, she probably feels so good about herself and her edits and like knows she's the best or whatever. But like, no, if anything, I think I am like bottom of the totem pole. Like, I was talking about this with 2 other editors the other day, Eli and Rob, which I will talk about them a little bit more later. Trust me, they come into play. But the edits that like you guys make of me or just like tag me in, I watch your guys' edits and literally like 99% of the time I'm just jealous. Like I will watch your guys' stuff and be like, how is this person watching me, a fan of me, but they literally edit better than me? Like, and I'm being so genuine when I say that. Like, I'm not trying to be fake. Like, I watch your guys' stuff and sometimes I get mad because I'm like, how are you better than me? But then you're making an edit of me and saying that like I'm your inspiration. Like, you're my inspiration. How am I your inspiration? I just don't get it. It's just incredible. And there was also a comment on YouTube, like it got a ton of likes on one of my YouTube videos, so it like went to the top, and it was like, how does Lauren just make editing look so easy? And I think this was on my undercover video, and that is like kind of intentional, like for the purpose of like making it wasn't a short video, but like condensing hours and hours of footage into 30 minutes. I can't like include all the time I spent working on the 5 edits I made for that video, but like it kind of looks all effortless. Like, yeah, I just have my next edit ready to post, and I feel like that's one big appeal of the undercover videos. But to be completely honest, it was like, I think 4 or 5 days almost straight in a row where I was just staying up until like 4 or 5 in the morning, just like whipping out these edits. And not to say like, oh, you should feel bad for me. Like the reason editing takes me so long is because I'm psychotic and like, I feel like I edit in like a really weird and messy way to get the look I want. So I probably make it harder for myself. But the point I'm trying to make is like, yeah, it might seem that way in maybe the TikToks I post or like my videos on YouTube, but editing is like a whole struggle for anyone, especially whipping out 5 edits for that 1 week was literally, I'm not gonna say it was my villain origin story because that video was so fun, but it really put me through the ringer. Like, I was tired, but I was really, really motivated, which is why I think I stayed up for so many days in a row. But yeah, the same way you might be like hunched over your computer or phone, like literally clawing at your skin, crying, vomiting because it just doesn't look the way it needs to. Guys, that's like me every single second of the day. Like, I will literally sit there and looking at my computer and being like, okay, great. There's no way I can salvage this. Like, this is the ugliest thing ever. And if I post it, it's the end for me. Like, editing is a very long process for, I think, everyone. And I think because I'm a more like experienced editor, a lot of people think I just like hop on my computer and like it's so easy for me and I know how to do everything already. And that could not be further from the truth. Like, this is not to promo or anything, but if you've bought any of my project files and you look into them, it is just so messy and packed with the most like random nulls, like the most randomly spaced keyframes, and like, don't even get me started on my anchor points. Like, half the time when I do a cool transition or something and people are like, how do you do that? It was honestly probably an accident. I'm not lying. Like, the pill bottle part in my green edit, some of that panning that like looked super cool, it was completely accidental. In fact, I was watching it and being like, oh my God, why doesn't this look the way I want it to? Like, this is so messed up. And I'll post it and be like, oh my God, this sucks. But then people specifically will be like, I loved that part. And that's like a really important thing about editing. I feel like the way you're watching your own edits, you can't be obviously as objective as someone else. So something that you're really nitpicky about and you're like overthinking about, other people might not even be looking at it, or they might actually like. And like, think about this. People will post edits all the time and the caption will be like, oh, like, I hate this part, or this part's horrible. And I'll be like, what do you mean, bro? Like, even if that was not your intended vision, that is a good vision. Like, give me some of that. So it's like, editing is a crazy and experimental process for, I mean, I don't want to generalize, but I would think a lot of people, if you're like super into it. And I am not an exception. I'm not like this little perfect editor. Why do you guys think I don't go on live to like do like a watch me edit? Because I'm like a crazy mad scientist going like completely nonverbal for 12 hours straight, probably like worsening my posture issues by just looking like a freak staring at that computer screen. I mean, so yeah, I've potentially strayed like very far away from the point, but all I'm trying to say with this is like, as someone who gets really deeply immersed into the editing process, spends a lot of time, and knows how hard and frustrating it can be, when I see someone remake my edit or remake my style, if anything, I just get like impressed or flattered that they spent that much amount of time and effort trying to replicate like something I've already done. And even more so than that, I like seeing kind of the creative differences between like the original that I make and then the remakes, because obviously there's going to be different types of like keyframe spacing, like graph types, different like just like tiny nuances to it that differentiates it from the original. And for me, I think that's just the most beautiful thing ever, to see how like everyone is interpreting one edit, because that just goes to show kind of the range of skills and technique in the editing community. So I've said this probably a million times already, but people kind of replicating my style or remaking my edits a ton, people might just assume I think it's annoying, but it's honestly like the largest form of flattery you could get as an editor. And I also just like love seeing people have fun with editing. Like, I always get messages of people being like, I just watched this tutorial of yours or that one, and it was actually so like educational and entertaining, and I had so much fun making this edit. That's like the one thing that always gets me, the like, this was so much fun to make. Because I remember when I was first learning After Effects, not that it was like insanely hard, but I didn't have like, oh, this is gonna sound like really bad, like I didn't have someone like me that I could just like go on their page and watch their tutorials and then like have fun whipping something up. It was mainly I had to learn by myself, ask one of my editor friends who like had been editing for longer than me how to do something, or I had to watch like a 50-year-old dude on YouTube spend 2 hours explaining something in like very complicated jargon. So to me, those starting couple months of editing were not necessarily like fun and experimental like they should have been. They were more so like I thought I was the stupidest person ever because I couldn't figure anything out, and like it was just constant frustration. Also, I'm gonna digress real quick right here because this is a story that deserves telling. I remember my very first After Effects edit ever. You can go on Emo Who from Whoville and watch it. For literally some reason, it would not render. And I clicked the render button like one last time. It was probably like my 80th attempt. I'm not even kidding. The render lasted 5 hours. I was just like sitting aside my computer 5 hours like I had that time. I probably did. That thing took 5 hours, and all the other ones failed that were also taking like multiple amounts of hours. And this one just like magically worked. So imagine me, like my first After Effects edit rendered. It took 5 hours and it wasn't even that long. I'm going into this being like, wow, After Effects editing is going to be really hard for me in the long run. And of course it was at first because I was just like hashing it out and learning things. But now to see that like my help and my tutorials are allowing people to not only like make incredible first edits, like I've seen some of these people's first edits, first transition edits, and they're like, oh, first post, whatever. And I'm like, this is me like year 3 into After Effects. Like, what are you talking about? So it not only helps people like, I guess, improve their skills faster, but it seems like it's making editing enjoyable from the get-go, which is like, that's really the one thing that is most important for me. I don't want people to like feel pressured by this hobby or feel like they're not good enough and they're just doing it because they feel like they have to. Like the stuff I see you guys create, I can tell that you guys are having fun. You get what I mean? Like just the creativity and the transition combinations and the little details you guys add, I can tell it's a fun process and experience. And you know why? Because when I do edits like that are kind of like have a ton going on and are pretty well thought out, like those are always the funnest for me. Granted, they might take me like days and I might be staying up until crazy hours, but that's still like, that's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy like being a little creative, crazy mastermind and working on my stuff until it's absolutely perfect. And like the type of fun that I have making edits now, to see people have that type of fun and enjoyment with their first couple edits is like, that's all I could really ask for, guys. That's all I'm really here for. So yeah, just essentially as someone who came into editing with no sort of expectations, I had no sense that I maybe had something that was like unique or special that, you know, would become bigger. I did not go into editing with any of these expectations. So now that I'm at a point where like my edits get recreated in bulk, like I can post an edit and expect at least like 20 recreations. Like who can expect that? That's crazy. To be in a position like that now, I don't have feelings like, oh, I'm the original and everyone's just a copy of me and no one would know how to do anything without me. No, I have a feeling of like, I don't think I could describe it as anything other than humility, because in my mind, I still can't believe and never will be able to believe just how like popular my style has become or how people look up to me for motivation. Like for me, it's just, that's not something that I take lightly at all. And I feel like humility is just like such an important thing when it comes to all of this, because like, especially in the editing community, you have a couple people like taking inspo from your stuff or like whatever, using some of your transitions. Like I've seen people get really big heads. Like that happens and they're like, oh, who run the community? No one but me. Like I am that editor, I'm that person. And it's like, yeah, you can feel like confident, like that's not an issue, but I feel like humility is also a really important aspect of that. Like in the same way that I might be helping people learn how to edit, these people are helping spread like my name across TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram by remaking my edits. And by doing that, they're bringing new people, new supporters to watch my tutorials and support my livelihood. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And I don't think it's kind of like a power dynamic where I'm at the top and then you have all these people just watching what I do. It goes both ways. The same way y'all watch what I do, I watch what you guys do. And I love getting your feedback and, again, interpreting how you guys might be doing my style and kind of just like how the editing community is evolving and has been evolving. I like to observe that, and I would not be able to get anything from that without your guys' feedback, without you guys tagging me and stuff and saying, I use this tutorial, I watched this video. So as helpful as you guys might like perceive me as being towards you, I swear you guys are 1,000 times more helpful to me. So I just want to give like a huge thank you right now. And this is also kind of off topic, but you guys know I've been like kind of on and off inactive for the past year, but this summer has really, really like helped me get back into things, mainly just for the fact of like, you guys are just awesome in the things you say. Like every time I'm not to say like, you guys need to give me validation, but like, it's easy to doubt yourself when you have kind of so many eyes on you. And like anything I do is going to be like super closely nitpicked. But like the amount of just messages I get every day of people saying like, you changed the way I edit forever, or like you were the reason that I was able to start editing. Like I don't think I could ever like verbally express how much that means to me. Like I screenshot those messages and I keep them in a little folder of my phone, and I'm like, I show my parents like, how sweet are these people? But yeah, I'm super grateful for that. And that's not like helping people and having people kind of emulate my style and my work is never something that I'm going to be offended by. I mean, I think the only time I might have a problem with it is when an app does it and like a user on an app does it and then they refuse to take it down after like a week of emailing. But that was an isolated incident. If you know, you know. So now something else I want to talk about is kind of like the expectations and pressure that go along with kind of everything that I just talked about kind of like having a style, having people replicate that, and like what is expected of me moving forward. Because in trying to hash this out, honestly, half the time I don't really even know what is to be expected of me. Like I'll give you an example, right? So I think that like in having my sort of style, the edits I have to post, like they should probably be in that certain style. Like if I'm switching up my style drastically, it's either for a YouTube video or people are going to think it's for a YouTube video. So like there's a certain standard right there. People expect something from me. So then I like posted my recent edit on Emo Who from Whoville. I thought it was very much just like in my normal style, but maybe it was a bit like cleaner, more like 3D heavy. I'm not sure. But I got a couple comments of like, ooh, is this a new style? Like, I'm loving it. And I was like, wait, like that wasn't the intention of it. It's supposed to be my old style, but like if you still like it, then should I like be switching up my style? Or like, should I stay the same, doing the same Lauren style that people like already like and know? Do you get what I mean by that? So it's like, for me, I never really know what's the right like course of action. It's like, do I stay with what I've been doing? Do I try out something new? Like, do I do certain editing trends, or will people not expect me to participate in said trend? Do I post this type of YouTube video, or do people not have any interest watching this? Like, these are kind of the decisions I think about like on a day-to-day basis. And like, you might be thinking like, Lauren, is it ever that deep? Like even when I'm editing, like the choice to do between like adding a shake, not adding a shake, doing a slide left or a slide right, you might be thinking like, this is literally not that serious. But like in my mind and potentially in reality, it actually so is, because like the amount of not necessarily scrutiny, but just like criticism I'm under just because of like the position I'm in is absolutely crazy, to the point where like little details that you don't think anyone would notice, that you don't think are important, are actually important. And the thing about that is like, it's important to note I'm a very, very anxious person. So like for example, I have 99.9% of my comments being positive, happy, nice, whatever, and that like usually is the case. But that one comment that pokes at a certain insecurity I had about that video, or, like makes fun of something I'm actually really insecure about in real life, that literally has the potential not only to ruin my day, but to change my entire perspective on something I produced and like not be proud of it anymore, if you get what I mean. Like, I posted a TikTok about this recently, but my recent YouTube video where I was editing random 3D objects, I did this sort of transition that I had talked about on my TikTok before, where it was like a light box with letters that pop out. And a lot of people had like this to say. They were like, oh, I thought the letters would pop out individually. I thought they would 3D rotate. And if I'm going to be completely honest, like that was potentially in my vision too. It's just that was the last one I had filmed for the day. I was already 4 hours into filming on my camera. I did not have much battery left. I did not have much storage left. And even if I was selling myself short with that transition and I could have gone like harder and it could have been bigger and better, like there's also the aspect of like, I've been doing this for 4 hours and I'm so tired, and I also have probably 8 to 10 hours of editing to do after this. So I thought to kind of just like wrap up the video and like whatever, just make things more efficient, like to make that transition a little more simpler, like people would not go crazy over that. Like even if they noticed it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But someone actually DM'd me 3 paragraphs yesterday saying how triggered and upset they were that I didn't do it a certain way, and then explained to me in detail what I should have done. And stuff like that, it might not seem like a big deal. Like, you might be like, Lauren, you're a creator. Like, you said that you love the feedback and that you expect the feedback, so why aren't you loving the feedback now? And that's genuinely because something like that is less feedback and more like, I'm going to be nitpicky about a 21-minute video that's already posted and like something you literally can't do anything about. And also with a message like that, it's like you're negating the entire 16 minutes where I had to do 3 other transitions. Like, I'm really just trying to entertain here, and like stuff like that like crushes my spirit, because it's like you were really mad like and triggered the entire time you watched this. Like, yeah, I still got a view. You could look at it like that, but like I don't like making anyone mad or triggered. Like, I like to feel proud of my stuff, and like the way my brain works, honestly, I need some other people to feel proud of it to allow myself to also feel proud of it. And that's not to say like, guys, you should go like kiss my ass and like comment all the nicest things to stroke my ego, but it's like when you're, especially with a YouTube video, when you're producing something like that takes so long to make, and like people don't see what goes behind the camera like in the 21 minutes of editing, for someone's only takeaway from that video to be that, it's like I'm right in having these crazy like thoughts about people's expectations of me, because people will tell me all the time, no, like you're perfect, you don't have to do anything differently, like we don't expect anything of you. But it's like people actually do. And I know the grand majority of people would never send me a message like that and just enjoy my content for what it is. But for me, again, in my twisted little mind, if there's even one person who's kind of dissatisfied by something I've done, that's something that's going to nag at me and have me kind of like questioning my worth and like how good I am like as an editor. So the main reason I'm kind of like really mentioning this is not just to kind of make you guys aware of like these expectations on me are crazy, but also like if it only takes one person like giving me criticism to make me feel horrible about myself, imagine how like proud of myself I feel when people are like replicating my work or like complimenting my flow or watching my tutorials or anything like that. It makes me feel like on top of the world, which is again the whole point of this episode. I do not get annoyed by copycats. The only thing that does annoy me is these crazy expectations being set for me as like, you are the best editor. Like, it's like someone just took a plaque and it engraved on it Lauren best editor one day and slapped it on me without any permission. Like, guys, I don't think I am the best editor. Like, and I don't even know like the time range we're talking about, if we're talking about currently right now, but like regardless, it's not me, and that shouldn't even be something that we're like ranking. Will I say that I have like a certain impact in the editing community due to my YouTube channel and the educational content I post? Yes. But even now to this day, guys, I'm not like faking it till I make it. Like, when I edit, that's just like me having fun and me really like wanting to produce something that I think looks really good. And it's not posted as something that's supposed to impress and like wow the masses. It's like, obviously I know you guys are gonna like it and think it's cool, but at the end of the day, I post what like I think looks good. And I think a lot of people can literally not wrap their head around that idea, because even now when I post edits, I will get DMs of like, you should have done XYZ differently. But it's like, I'm editing for myself. I'm not editing for you. Like, I'm so grateful and appreciative that you guys watch my edits and like enjoy them, whatever. But it's like, if I was producing stuff having other people's desires and needs in mind rather than my own, I would not be producing my best work. Like, it is my edit account for a reason. And that's why I get so frustrated when people have held me to this standard of like, you're the best editor, because suddenly I have to produce stuff that the masses would think is like best edit worthy. And if I miss the mark on that, I'm going to get criticism about it. But it's like, I just want to post what I like and what looks good. And half the time, I don't know if that's what other people are going to think is good editing. And that's so frustrating, because it's like, for 3 or 4 years, I was able to post anything I wanted and feel happy with it because like I wasn't getting this amount of feedback. But now it's like, I have to take into consideration like how people will criticize me, even though it's my creative process that I've been doing since 2017. Like, that's just kind of hard for me. And I know as an editor who like does have people looking up to me, I understand why like my edits might be like looked at more, studied more, examined more, but it's like, I don't think that means I need to change everything that I do to ensure that everyone is happy and satisfied with it. So yeah. Now, something else that I need to talk about, because like this is something that just like really has been irking me, is this whole narrative of like Lauren clones and Lauren copycats on TikTok and Instagram. So these are just people who basically like, they're known for maybe remaking my edits or like replicating my style. And this is like most of the time it's in a negative connotation. Like, people will attack them and say like, you have no originality, you have no personality, you mooch off of Lauren and she probably hates you. She probably thinks you're so annoying. And like, to have all that anger and like rage towards people who I actually really, really like in the name of like supporting me is actually crazy. So I was actually talking to, there's 2 editors, Eli and Rob on Instagram, and they have been supporting me for like a bit over a year now, I believe. And a lot of their edits, like, it's either very similar to my flow or they might be like recreating my edits. And Rob, more specifically, I was like talking to the other day, and he gets just heaps of hate like anytime he posts about being a quote unquote Lauren clone. And Eli as well, people are always like coming for him for being so similar to me, but like, I don't think you guys realize like I'm actually very close with these editors. We talk all the time, like they've picked my brain, I've picked theirs, and we've had like very long conversations about these things. And I have told them directly, like, you guys are so amazing and I love seeing your remakes and it's the most flattering thing ever. And it's like, even if people hate on you for it, like trying to be me, it's like, I'm the one who's talking to you right now. Like, that should be kind of the validation you need. But like, yeah, all the quote unquote clones, like Lauren clones, I like speak to all of them because they're the coolest people ever. And the funny thing about that too is like with Eli and Rob and other editors like that, when I talk to them about the editing process and like, my pet peeves or like certain habits I have, it's like we all share one hive mind because, we edit so similarly that like the way we're able to converse about editing is so fun. It's like anything I say or any frustration I have, they're like, oh my God, girl, like same, like this part of editing is so annoying or like this part is so satisfying. So if anything, people learning how to like replicate my style is like, now it's just like introducing me to a ton of people who I can like chit chat about like editing with. And I absolutely love that. Like talking to Eli and Rob has been so fun because I've also talked to them about like their specific recreations of certain ones of my edits. So like Rob, he's remade like King for a Day and Cake. And so we were just talking about like our process, like individually of making those edits. And, we were talking about specific parts of it that like had both of us frustrated or other parts that we thought were super easy. And I was like, oh my God, like, again, it's like we're sharing a hive mind. Which is, again, like another reason why I don't want people to put me on this pedestal or like unwillingly give me this title of best editor, because I am not the only person by far who can edit like this or do the things I do. Like, there are so many talented people out there who deserve recognition. And the fact that they're receiving this recognition in the form of hate and harassment is just like so disgusting to me, because it's like, these are people who help me out when I need help editing, right? These are people like I'll go to send a snippet to get some feedback. Like, this is not a one-man show as people think it is. I love bouncing ideas off of other people and getting their input. And, the people that I'm bouncing these ideas off of are people who are like the people who other editors think are weirdly obsessed with me and have no personality or no life. And it's like, no, they have a personality in life and they're super cool, but they're talking to me about it. They're not talking to the internet about it. And I just want to say like thank you to Eli and Rob more specifically, because they are constantly having to bite their tongue when they're getting hate. People will say to them, you're so obsessed with Lauren and she doesn't even know you. She doesn't even like you. Meanwhile, I speak to them all the time and we chat about like anything and everything. And they, out of respect for me, they don't rebuttal any haters with like, oh, but I know Lauren and she's told me this and she's told me that and we're really close. Like they don't do that, even though they easily could. But, again, like out of respect for me, they kind of keep that like under wraps and they literally put up with the hate and they get a lot of it. And that's something that like they don't have to do just to spare me, but like they do. So like there's always more to the story than you think. If you're going on TikTok and you see someone replicating my style and your first thought is like, they are so annoying and they want to be Lauren so bad, I'm going to go leave a nasty hate comment. It's like, that is literally the opposite of what I would want you to do, because these are actually such awesome and hardworking people. And like basically just this narrative going around that like I am top dog in the editing community, I'm untouchable, no one can come close to me. I don't like it, and it creates harm in two separate ways. One, by setting insanely high expectations for me, and if those expectations just keep getting higher, that will literally suck the joy out of editing for me, and that's something that I am scared of. And two, it closes the doors to editors who are just as capable and talented as me from really like putting themselves out there and showing their work, because they know either everything is going to be compared to me or people will just mention me in some form. Like, people can't just be good editors, it seems, without my name being brought into it. And that is so, I mean, obviously I'm flattered by that to some extent, but also that's so frustrating for people who just want to have fun without me constantly being like brought up into it. So I think it's like a double-edged sword, and I don't like to complain about receiving so much love, praise, and attention, but when it's at like the expense of someone else, I'm not going to stand for that. And also when it's at the expense of my mental health with all the pressure and expectations being set on me, that's not something I'm going to love. So at the end of the day, the only thing I can do to like negate something like this is just encourage people to really be mindful and kind when they comment. I think a lot of the times it's people like thinking that they're on the defense or like thinking that they're supporting me by saying certain things about like clones or like giving me certain suggestions about certain things. But it's like a lot of the times you might just like be being like unnecessarily hateful, like to say to a Lauren clone, oh, you'll never be as good as the original, or like something like that, or to go out of your way to message me 3 paragraphs saying how you were unhappy with the video. Like, it's stuff like that you might not think is super like harmful, but is harmful. And I'm going to end this episode off with like a very, very important PSA that it's funny that this even needs to be said, but like, I am not the only editor ever. I am not the best editor ever. I have never claimed to be the best editor ever. And I am so grateful when people look up to me for inspiration and watch my tutorials. And I love seeing remakes of my edits. But like, I'm not the only one who's able to do stuff like that. And we should definitely still be lending support to other editors who are just as talented and creative and, yeah, hardworking. And also, this episode is not a pity grab. I kind of feel like I went into a lot about my personal feelings about this and how I feel the pressure. But at the end of the day, I love doing TikTok, Instagram, YouTube so much. Like, editing is not just a hobby, it's a passion. That's why I've been doing it for so long. And this is something that I just love waking up every day and like creating something in some way. So in no way, shape, or form is this me being like, oh my God, the pressure's too much, I might quit. Like, that's not happening. I just wanted to bring you guys like some awareness of how I feel about things, and like also how things are affecting other people who might be like editing in my style. It's more so just for awareness, not me being like, I can't take this anymore, because I can definitely manage it. Like, I'm old enough at this point, and I love creating and editing so much to stop at this point. So thank you guys so much for listening to this episode, hearing me out. I hope you took something away from it, and a big shout out specifically to Eli and Rob in this episode, because you guys put up with so much crap, like, just to support me, and for that, I'm like so grateful. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day or night wherever you are, and please look forward to episode 4 of this podcast. I also want to give you guys a little teaser into the fact that I will be having guests on this podcast in the future. So please be aware of that and get excited for that. And yeah, I hope you learned something new from this episode, and bye.